Welcome to the deep dive. So today our mission really is to slice through some of the usual ideas about Japan and get into something deeper. We're talking traditional performing arts.
Yeah, moving past, the anime, the bullet trains, all that stuff we think we know. We want to look at the structure underneath.
Exactly, how artistic identity works in these really old disciplined worlds.
And it's interesting, isn't it? Because Japan's culture, especially the traditional side, still really captures people's attention globally. But to get why these traditions last, you need to see let's say, the hidden architecture. And our main source today, it's based around Japanologist and performer Warattei Harito. He gives us a fantastic window into this.
Right, and the first thing that jumps out, something Harito points out, it just completely reframes identity. He explained that in these classical arts, your stage name, it's not just for showtime.
Oh, definitely not.
It actually becomes who you are every day. Ordering coffee, meeting the neighbors, school stuff for the kids, everything.
Unless you're filling out, official government forms, that's the only time you'd use your birth name.
That's a huge commitment, isn't it?
It really is. Think about it, inheriting a name that basically defines you personally and professionally for your whole career, maybe your whole life. And the system is, well, it's strict because you don't choose these names, not based on what sounds cool or what might sell.
No choice. So how does it work?
They're handed down, inherited from your master. They carry this immense weight lineage, tradition, wisdom, and definitely expectation. It's like being inducted into this historical artistic family. It goes way beyond just, picking a brand name.
Okay, so let's break down the name itself. Harito mentioned that there are two parts, right? Both really important. First, there's the family name of the lineage. That's called Teijo, or sometimes Yago.
Teigu or Yago, exactly.
Right.
That's the historical marker. It links you straight to the specific school, the house your master's part of. It's the legacy you step into.
Got it, the lineage part.
But then there's the second part, the given name. And this is where the master's judgment, their authority, really comes in. The master bestows this name on the student, often only after literally years of training and close observation.
And the way this happens, it sounds incredibly serious. Not just a quick decision. We're talking about a whole process rooted in really careful scrutiny. The master's watching everything.
Everything. Personality, physical energy, the quality of their voice, comedic timing, even their sort of innate luck or fortune.
Wow.
Then they pick a name that's meant to bring good fortune. And it's not final even then. It has to be approved by the senior members, the elders of that artistic family.
That's intense.
Harito used this great analogy to get across just how serious it is. He said the whole thing is almost like naming a newborn child.
Like naming a child. Yeah, that lands.
Exactly. It's a name that's supposed to carry destiny, layers of meaning, and all the goodwill and investment of the entire lineage. It's only when the master feels you've got the spiritual maturity, the skill, the emotional depth, that's when they grant you this permanent identity.
It sounds incredibly rigid, though. The level of dedication must be just total. But if it's that strict, needing years of just submitting to tradition, doesn't that risk, killing off creativity, especially for someone from outside the culture?
But that's a key point.
How does someone like Warattei Harito, who we know is Dr. Halit Miziraklı, an academic, not Japanese, how does he get a foot in the door of such a closed world?
Well, that tension is precisely why his story is so interesting. Harito's been using his stage name for, over 20 years now?
2 decades, yeah.
And he emphasizes that getting accepted takes this unbelievable level of dedication. You absolutely have to show the masters you're serious, that you're willing to submit to the discipline, to accept the culture, even the parts that might feel, really conservative or challenging from an outside perspective.
So that's the price of admission, basically.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, before we get into his actual name, we should probably clarify what Rakugo is. People hear comedic storytelling, but it's more specific?
Much more specific. So, Rakugo, it's one performer. Sitting. Always sitting. On a small cushion called a kotha, usually on a raised platform. And this single performer has to play every role in the story, the koban. Switching voices, genders, ages, moods, totally seamlessly.
And they only use 2 props.
Just 2 simple things. A paper fan, sensu, and a small cloth hand towel, tenugui. And crucially, they never stand up.
Never stand up.
Never. It's all done from that seated position. Harito called it radio theater on stage, which I think is a really good description.
Radio theater on stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, that works because it relies so heavily on the voice, right? And tiny gestures.
Exactly. Vocal precision is everything. Minimal movement.
And Harito first stumbled upon this during a scholarship year from the Ministry of Education.
That's right. And apparently he immediately saw connections to something he knew from Turkey Medallic, the Turkish art of storytelling.
Ah, interesting parallel. How do they compare?
Well, Medallic is usually performed standing up, often involves music, and there's typically more room for improvisation, for interacting with the audience. Rakugo, by contrast, is physically much more constrained, very structured. The focus is on these intricate, rehearsed narratives.
So different feel entirely.
Yeah. Harito mentioned that Medallic felt kind of lively, like an improvised conversation, but Rakugo felt, in his words, more theatrical, more alive, precisely because of that discipline, that focus on vocal characterization.
Okay, so we have this super structured art form, and then we have Harito, the outsider academic. And his path was really unusual, wasn't it? He got his name from the great master Yanagiya Sankyō.
Directly from Sankyō, yeah. After doing a short comic piece for a class, Sankyō was observing or teaching, I believe.
But then this seems really important. He was never an official apprentice.
That's the absolute key detail here. He chose to stay an academic. He didn't do the traditional uchideshi thing, living with the master, training intensely every day, often doing domestic chores for years.
Right, the live-in apprenticeship. He skipped that.
He skipped that, which has huge implications for his stage identity.
How so?
Well, because he wasn't a formal apprentice in that traditional system, his stage family name, the Tegu or Yago part we talked about, it's not connected to one of the established multi-generational Rakugo houses like Yanagiya.
So he doesn't carry the Yanagiya name, even though Sankyō named him.
Exactly. He earned the master's personal recognition, got the given name Harito, but kept his independence. He essentially had to create his own house name.
Which is Warattei.
Warattei. The lack of that formal lineage name really sets him apart. It shows the immense respect he must have earned, but without going through that full submission to the traditional system.
Let's zoom in on that name then. Warattei Harito. The second part, Harito, that's just his name. Halit, in Japanese pronunciation. Really.
Triple enough, yeah.
But the first part, Warattei Hito, that's constructed from 3 specific Japanese characters, kanji. And this is where it gets layered.
Oh, absolutely. This is where you really see the depth of the language reflecting the culture. The kanji choices pack in meaning. So the first character, wa, a, means I or myself.
Right.
The second, raku, is often translated as joy or pleasure. But it also carries connotations of music or ease. It's a rich character.
Joy, pleasure, music, ease. Lots packed in there.
And the third, te, that denotes a house, a pavilion, a place, or even a school in this kind of context.
So, joy, music, house, how does that come together?
Well, when you combine the Warakutai, it's not just a random sound. Harito himself translates it as the House of Humor.
The House of Humor.
Or more specifically, Harito's House of Humor. It signifies a space for his own style, his own kind of raku, his own joy, his own performance.
That's really clever, creating his own space within the tradition.
Exactly. And he talks about figuring out these names and like just learning kanji in general. He says it's like writing poetry or solving a puzzle. Slow, detailed work, he says, that becomes deeply satisfying when the pieces finally click together.
I like that, like poetry or a puzzle. Slow, detailed, satisfying.
And that connection feels important, doesn't it? The slow work of the language mirroring the slow, dedicated work of mastering the art form itself. Both need incredible patience, a real respect for nuance. And speaking of nuance and mastery, to really get the weight of the name Harito carries, we absolutely have to talk about the man who bestowed it, Yanagiya Sankyō.
Right, Yanagiya Sankyō. He's 77 now. And he's not just some respected elder statesman.
Oh no, he's far more than that. He's currently the president of the Rakugo Association. He is, without exaggeration, a living legend in the Rakugo world.
And he just received a major honor, didn't he? Something significant.
Hugely significant. He was named a person of cultural merit and received Japan's Cultural Service Award. This comes directly from the Ministry of Education and Culture.
Okay, that sounds prestigious.
It is. But here's the thing that tells you the real scale of it. Sankyō is only the second Rakugo performer in the entire history of the art form to ever receive this specific high-level award.
The second ever. Wow. Who was the first?
The first was Katsura Beichu, another giant of Rakugo who passed away back in 2015, so nearly a decade ago.
So being only the second person, that tells you his impact goes way beyond just being funny or entertaining.
Absolutely. Harito pointed out that Sankyō has fundamentally redefined the emotional possibilities within Rakugo. Yes, it's rooted in comedy, but Sankyō just blows past those genre lines.
How does he do that? Especially given the physical restrictions we talked about sitting. minimal props.
That's what's so incredible. Sitting there on the koza, people say Sankyō becomes all of humanity at once. He can shift in an instant from, say, the sharp, high voice of a clever geisha to the deep, weary tones of a grieving fisherman, or the clipped, proud speech of a samurai facing ruin. It's uncanny.
And the effect on the audience.
It can be emotional whiplash. The sources say he's famous for performances where people leave crying, sometimes from laughing so hard they can't breathe, other times from a genuine, profound sense of sorrow or empathy his characters evoke.
Masterful control over emotion, then?
Complete control. And Harito's own reflection on learning from Sankyō, even without being a formal apprentice, it shows how specific that influence is.
What did he say?
He said Sankyō shaped his whole stage presence, not just the jokes, but the rhythm of his voice, knowing how to use silence, the impact of just a look, a glance.
The subtle stuff.
The really subtle stuff. Harito actually compared him to a famous Turkish actor, Müşfik Kenter, saying they shared this same kind of warmth and almost poetic precision in how they delivered lines.
Okay, so pulling all this together.
Yeah.
That name, Warattei Harito, it's not just a label.
Not at all.
It's a direct living link to this whole school of performance embodied by Sankyō. It carries that history, that lineage, and the wisdom of a master who is still actively shaping the art.
Right. Which brings us back to that idea of strictness, of conservatism in these traditional arts. We've established it requires massive dedication. The system is deeply traditional, perhaps conservative. And it's easy for us, maybe from the outside, to see that as just restrictive, maybe even old-fashioned or stifling.
Yeah, that's the knee-jerk reaction, isn't it? Too many rules, not enough freedom.
But here's a thought to maybe leave you with. What if that very strictness, that intense focus on discipline and following the lineage, what if it isn't a cage, but more like a magnifying glass?
A magnifying glass, how do you mean?
What if that very restriction is what's necessary to preserve and even refine the absolute emotional core of the art? It forces the performer to channel all their creativity, all their theatrical energy into incredibly precise vocal work and tiny controlled movements.
Because they can't rely on big gestures or moving around.
Exactly. And maybe it's that intense focus born from restriction that allows one person sitting on a cushion to become what Harito called an entire theater company in one person.
An entire theater company in one person.
Something to think about, maybe, next time you encounter a tradition that seems rigid on the surface. The power might be hidden in the discipline itself, inherited identity forged in intensity.